The slowest tank in the game just received the mobility buff, and here is everything you need to know. Bonjour everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new video in which we're going to talk about the T95 buff and nerfs, because it received both at the same time. The vast majority of players tend to complain about the T95 based on his horrible mobility. And to be fair, it was horrible. You could go to maximum 20 km per hour even using speed boost, and it was nearly unplayable for most of us because of how slow it was. You were extremely team dependent and it was kind of pissing me off. But Wargaming finally took into consideration Wargaming players' feelings, and they gave us a generous buff, or what seems to be on paper a generous buff, and you're gonna understand why in this video. First of all, the speed goes from 16 km per hour maximum to 20. Even if it's only 4 km per hour, you're gonna see through the replays after, it's just huge. But it comes to a price, the gun seeing its rate of fire a little bit decreased. The tank goes from 12.7 seconds of reload in the 8.6 update to 13.2 in the 8.7 update, the current one. A good trade if you want my opinion. But there is one last thing you must do. It's a must-have on that tank. If you don't do that, you're gonna see your statistics drop with it. It's going into the consumable section and equip that tank with the improved engine booster. You want to use that because otherwise you're not gonna see a difference. That thing, as you can see, increases your engine power by 40%. On top of that, you gain 5 km to maximum forward speed and 10 km to maximum reverse speed. Trust me, it can save your ass multiple times. And finally, the last thing is the consumable delivery system. In order to be able to use this improved engine power boost as soon as possible and as much as you can, you need to equip your tank with this one that allows 15% consumable cooldown increased. And well, when you equip that tank with everything, you can go into battle. So, how do you want to play that tank and what changes? First of all, as soon as the game starts, you see that I'm using my improved engine booster. Why am I doing that? To be able to get in position as soon as possible. It's a must-have. You must do this on your T95, otherwise you're going to take ages to get into position. Now you have two playstyles. The traditional one, where you camp, and I could just have gone to this place right there, you know, the famous bush from which everyone can snipe you on this map. But it's not my type. I'm more of an active player, so I decided to brawl. And this is where the buff enters in consideration, because now that Wargaming buffed it, even if it's not the hugest buff ever, because as you can see, we are still struggling climbing up a hill. At least, guys, we have the possibility of going faster. And going faster means taking more positions, or at least taking the same positions as before, but faster, which will lead you, of course, to getting some shots and sneak some shots you couldn't do before, you couldn't land before. And doing so, you see that we have access to the VK168, and we shoot a glorious one straight into the side of his armor. Now, is it really game-changing to have those kilometers per hour? I don't think it's going to change a lot of things about the tank, but at least there is one thing we can allow to Wargaming. It's the fact that it makes the gameplay more interesting and more fun. Usually, the main problem with the T95, a lot of people will tell you, is that it's extremely slow. And now, even if it's still slow, it's more of a mouse-like slow. So it's not necessarily a problem anymore. Maybe one thing to notice that I completely forgot to mention, this tank, even if it's one of the most armored tanks in the game, has two weak spots. The first two ones are the cupolas, obviously, like it's the case on pretty much every single tank in this game. But the second one that nobody really takes care of is the lower part of the hull that you can see right there. And in order to avoid getting shot by any opponents, or in order to avoid getting destroyed by enemies that could switch to gold shells and shoot at those either cupola or lower part of the hull, you need to adapt. And how do you adapt? By staying at long range. As you can see, I was not afraid of staying in front of the 50 TP prototype or whatever it was. I know it was not the prototype, it was the regular Tech 3 one, or even in front of the WT at long distance, because I know that at this range it's going to be extremely hardcore for them to be able to sneak shells. But as soon as you get into closer range, like I did with the Conway, I sneak my shot and I go back to a safe position. Do not try try with this tank to brawl even if everyone tells you that you have armor, because everyone is already aware of your weak spots and they will switch to gold shells as soon as they see a T95. Everyone is aware that this tank is one of the most armored there is in this game. And obviously everyone, the same way everyone knows you have to switch to HE shells when you're fighting an RHM, it's the same. So do not bother. If you do, you're gonna get completely destroyed. And here, I'm not gonna make you wait. We are not gonna be able to get the Emil 1951 because it will jump on the 704. And we resulted into an ace tanker. That was kind of a good one. I would like to show you one of the weaknesses of the T95. I'm not going to show you the whole replay, and what we're going to do is we are probably going to accelerate it. As you can see, even if I'm using an improved boost, I can't catch up with the rest of my team. And this is the main problem with the T95. You don't have the possibility of staying with your team. It's either your team stays with you or you are left alone behind. And as you can see, this is exactly what happened, because here I don't have the possibility of sticking with the rest of my team. And as I just mentioned previously, you have the weak spot that is going to get annihilated at close range. This IS-4 is aware of my weak spot and is using it to its advantage. Just take a look at that. We see the 30B and it doesn't care about us, but as soon as there is the IS-4, bang, he penetrates once again. At close range, the T95 becomes completely irrelevant because of that weak spot. And if it was not for the lower part of the hull, it would be the cupolas or things like that. So, well, in the end, we can't do anything, and we are gonna get completely wrecked by the IS-4 that once again shot the lower part of the hull. So really be careful about that. If you must play at close range, please guys, try to hide the lower part, even if it's probably going to be one of the hardest things you can do. But the true power of the T95 will be revealed when this tank is playing on small maps. Here we are in full despair, and the cool thing about this one is that we don't take ages to get to the center of the battle, because here near the cap circle we have the possibility of going in and sneaking some shots. Unfortunately, there is also a bat chat that is kind of annoying, and I don't want to push further because of one thing: the fear of being circled. This is the main threat when you're using the T95. Getting circled is probably first, the worst feeling as a tank destroyer, but secondly, one of the things you can't recover from when you're using a T95. For example, if you're using an Object 268, an Object 263, even if you have something or someone in your back, you can try to play with the different grounds, the different buildings in order to get out of the situation. With a T95, because your mobility is horrible, you will not be able to. So really make sure not to get circled at all. That being said, let's jump back into the replay. As you can see, we sticked 2 shots at the beginning without necessarily struggling, and we're trying to get our hands on a sweet shot on the IS-7. But I see that I can't get him. There is the AMX, I'm gonna try, but well, I see that I can't get them, and I'm gonna get upset and think, nah, I'm not gonna bother. There is the WT out of Pantoufleee just here, and I'm pretty sure I can switch to HE shells to inflict him a couple of good damage. So there we go, we jump in, we move a little bit using our speed boost. That helped us quite a lot in this situation, and bang, more than 1k damage. Now, of course, the perfect position I took is right there on this map, and I encourage you to do so even if you have people camping here, because from there you see that people can only see my cupolas and not the lower part of my hull, which is the weak spot. So it's a good idea if your goal is to annoy the enemies while making them perm spot. So there we go, we killed the WT, and now we only have to bother with the rest of them. And here I'm gonna do a mistake. I'm gonna try to focus on the AMX 5120 because I wanted to sneak an HE shell. And that was a big mistake for the only reason that in the meantime I got circled. And as you can see here, when you're getting circled with the T95, first you're getting your engine destroyed, which lowers down even more your overall mobility. But on top of that, I lost all my hit points, and that shows you how fragile the T95 is when you're not exposing the frontal armor. And now we have to deal with 2 angry mediums, and we can't do anything. So what we're gonna do is wait, because when you can't do anything, the best solution is just to wait. Can we maybe bounce the i7 or at least not take shots? Yes, we can. And now we have to deal with the T54E1, but yeah, the i7 is pushing, so I had to do something. As soon as I stick my shell, obviously the T54E1 is coming out of the corner. And something really interesting to notice here is that the T54E1 didn't even bother trying to sneak some shots on me. Why? Because the T95 has the reputation of being one of the most armored tanks. So he would rather shoot at something else, E75, E100, Super Conqueror, no Conqueror, rather than sneaking shells on me, which allowed me to escape, sneaking a shell straight into the bat chat, waiting for my reload, and now punishing that T54E1 for the mistake he made of not killing me. Bang, 4.8k damage, 4 kills, and obviously coming with it a juicy ace tanker. And this is what you can expect from most of your games with the T95, as long as you don't try to take any risks. If you're playing top tier, try to still take some distance but push aggressively, or I mean go as fast as you can. And when you're playing against tier 10, as you saw against the IS-4, do not try close range because you're going to get destroyed. But if you do all of this, you should like the T95 a little bit more, because overall that buff was needed and was really interesting, at least from the player's perspective, to put into battle and to see the effectiveness. If you agree, feel free to tell me in the comments. Subscribe, like, and share, and I'm going to see you soon for a new video. Bye.